Hello everybody. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is the first episode of Cooking with My Family, as I've changed my name to. So, Nona, what are we making today for dinner?
Well, today we're having smash burgers that are on the griddle outside that are made by Grandpa. And we're also going to have brats that he's going to finish on the grill. And then we're going to have a variety of side dishes. We've got deviled eggs, coleslaw, salad, crudité. We'll have pickles, onions, tomato, everything fixings for the smash burgers. We'll also have a little fruit dish of grapes and apple slices because all the kids like those really well. And we're going to cheat a little today since it's actually going to be my birthday and Grandpa's birthday this week. I thought that we would probably just not get too crazy with the cooking aspect today, and we're going to order some JoJo's from Giannino's.
That sounds pretty good.
So,
how do you make the coleslaw?
Okay, the coleslaw is made with, I usually buy, which just makes it easier. You could cut up your own cabbage, but they have coleslaw in bags. It's cut up already and washed, so you don't have to worry. So I put that in, and then I usually cut up a pepper of some kind, either red or yellow or green.
And I can see we
orange.
have red peppers in there.
Yes, there's red peppers in there, sweet red peppers. And then I don't have a recipe where I actually add an exact amount of anything. Today I used a little bit of poppy seed dressing that I had, and I used mayo. I like to use Duke's mayonnaise because I really like the taste of it. So I put some mayo in, and I put a little bit of ranch dressing for a little bit of tang in it. And then I also made sure there was salt and freshly ground pepper, just a tiny bit of garlic powder, and there's paprika on the top just to make it look nice.
Now, I myself am not a very big coleslaw fan.
Okay.
So I also see we have some sausage cooking in the back.
Right, that's the brat. I think I have, let's see, a minute and a half left. What I'm doing is kind of parboiling them, just getting them initially cooked a little. They won't be fully cooked yet until Grandpa actually cooks them on the grill. He will finish them on the regular grill, and he'll make the smash burgers on the griddle.
Can't go wrong with smash burgers. Okay,
No.
So now, since some of my viewers are a little bit younger, how do you make deviled eggs?
Okay, there's a secret, actually, to making a deviled egg, or I should say hard-boiled egg, that will easily come out of the shell. If you've ever done hard-boiled eggs and had them stick to the shell when you're trying to peel them, it's very frustrating because pieces of the white can come off, and then you wind up with less than you thought you had. So what I do, I've done this for a while now. I had read this trick a few years ago, and it works every single time. I start my water on the stove, probably enough just to cover eggs, so maybe that much water depending upon how much
How many eggs you have in the pot?
Right. And I don't put the eggs in until the water's boiling. When the water's boiling, I put the eggs in, and I use...
Oh, the brat's done.
Yeah, I use this, and I just put the eggs, lower them in 2 at a time till I reach however many I'm making. Then I cover it, then I turn it down to medium or medium-low, and then I set my timer at 15 minutes. Go 15 minutes, because what we want to achieve is an egg yolk that's not brown or real green. Just a pretty nice egg yolk, and those are pretty good.
So it should look like this if
green.
You have followed the instructions correctly.
Right. So when they hit 15 minutes exactly, you got to get them out right away. So I use this. I usually have a dish with some cold water and some ice cubes sitting in the sink. And I just I don't put the water in, I just drain the eggs, put them in the cold water that has the ice cubes in it for 15 minutes. And then, when that's all done, and you go to crack your egg,
It should come off so
it comes
easy.
off really easily, like this. And perfectly, you don't get any gouge marks in your egg. It just comes right off. Really fast, too.
Mm-hmm.
So, for the deviled egg, then, I just I just put put all the whites into some kind of a holder. I have a nice little plastic one that keeps everything kind of in order.
Yeah, we always use this.
And then I take my yolks, and now I'm going to start adding to my yolks to make the mixture that's going to go inside the little egg cavities that are there. So I got to get my brats off though.
Yeah.
Did you want to stop that for a second, or did you want to keep going?
We should probably keep going.
Okay.
Okay, so
These have been on about 10 minutes in not quite boiling water. It was boiling when I started, but then I thought, I'm just gonna, it's really hot water, and I covered them. So that was, it's on medium. So I'm gonna turn these off, and I'm just gonna take my brats. and
they
take
should
them out.
they should come out looking like my skin, very pale.
Pale, very pale. Exactly. You just want them to cook a little bit, because sometimes when you get them on the grill and you're cooking them on the grill, you want to brown them kind of fast. If you don't, and you brown them real slow, wait for them to cook through, it can take quite a while. And smash burgers are fast, so we want to get the brats to be fast too. We don't want Grandpa to be out there cooking for, half
Too
an
long.
hour. Exactly. So this allows these to get just a little bit cooked. Then he's going to put that nice brown caramelized crust on them when we're done.
So, if you guys do not know, these are my grandparents. This is my Nona, and that is my grandpa over there sitting in the chair out of camera.
Hello.
So
we're going to do the eggs.
So how much mayo do we need to add? Because some of my viewers might want to do this at home.
Okay. Well, let me get a measuring cup, because like I said, I usually don't measure, but that doesn't mean that we can't measure. Let me get a decent measuring cup. What we're looking for the eggs is a consistency that is kind of pasty, not liquidy at all, but not dry. Not where it feels like when you're eating them, it's dry. Well, that's okay.
So you want to sort of make it like paint, almost.
Maybe
paint consistency.
Maybe a little bit more like putty consistency, like a little less than Play-Doh, if you wanted to. So you don't want it runny. You don't want to be able to run into it. You have to spoon your mixture into your eggs. And this I'm just chopping up with a fork, the tines of a fork. I don't worry about if there's any little chunkies in there. It's no big deal, because
it's all gonna get mashed.
It's all egg, right? And sometimes a little texture isn't a bad thing.
No.
Rather than real smooth, I kind of get away from a real smooth thing. So that's why I also don't. Some people, when they make this mixture, like to put it in a piping bag, which is really nice, and then pipe it,
Yeah,
into
it's sort of like a little cone.
It looks like, it fluffs up, and it's really nice. I don't do that for two reasons. Just because I don't want to bother with a piping bag. Although you could use one of those
plastic bags. Cut a little hole into the side.
a really small hole right at the corner, and then cut a little bigger one if it's not enough. You don't want to cut it too big, because you can't go backwards.
Yeah.
You can only go forwards. So, but I just, I don't know. I just kind of like to do it with a spoon. I can control it, and it seems like everybody's fine with the way they look. I'm not
Yeah.
too worried about the look. So,
Okay, so something that I usually like to do when the toppings come around, like using paprika, I especially like to add a little bit of dill on top. Adds sort of a nice little flavor to it.
Well, we have
along with the paprika.
We have dill. If you want to.
Yes,
do
but that
today.
is my favorite. I'm not sure anybody else likes dill on their
okay.
eggs,
I
so
gotcha.
I wouldn't add that. So, how much mayo are we going to add into?
We're going to start with we got the salt. Whoops, sorry.
Yeah, salt's over there.
Got to be careful with the salt because the mayo is going to add a lot of salt flavor.
Yes.
To the egg, so
Because
you don't want to salt a ton.
Yeah, because there's salt in the mayo already.
Right.
So
the mayo is already because it's got cider vinegar, salt. It's got stuff in it that is going to be salty. So I use kosher salt.
yeah, that's
which
always
is
a good
bigger.
thing to use.
I don't like the fine table salt.
No.
The kosher salt, actually, you would think that these big kosher grains would be more salty, but they aren't. The fine salt is what's really salty and can get, if you put too much of it, can get nasty on you. So I just usually do the sprinkle, just a little bit. So it's not even a teaspoon.
So I enjoy science, and I can explain to some of the viewers why it's less salty in the bigger chunks. So since it's salt and sugar are crystals, the more compact the sugar or salt is, the more flavor it's going to have. But the bigger it gets, the more flavor is going to be spread out throughout the crystal. So in this case, when making the deviled eggs, you're going to use the kosher salt, not the fine grained salt.
Right.
Because
if you have it.
the mayo, like she just said, already has salt in it. So you're going to want to use the kosher, which has less of salt in it.
Right. And your mustard, which we're using, I'm sure, has, well, it says it has spices in it. Salt.
Salt.
Is right after the mustard seed. So that's a large content of that. So
mainly the entire thing about deviled eggs is just salt.
well,
that's the main basis of
this. You do want to make sure they're salty enough, but you don't want them to be,
No, it's just like shoving a handful of fine-grained salt and slapping an egg into it. Yeah. You don't want it to be too salty. You just sort of like want to get a pinch and drizzle the salt over.
Right. So, in an effort to make an actual measurement on this, which I don't usually do, I just usually put in and eyeball it until I think there's enough. I'm using 1/3 cup of mayo.
Yeah, that usually looks like what you would
And we're going to try with that. We might need just a
little bit more.
A little bit more. I'm going to use this, this is kind of a teaspoon. It's not a measuring spoon teaspoon. Make sure you...
yeah, you might want to shake it up so you don't get the water.
The glob of water, yeah. I'm going to... Don't need much in the way of... I'm going to do about a teaspoon of...
mustard.
Okay.
It adds sort of a nice little sort of...
sourness or tang.
Yeah. Tang is the word I was looking for.
Yep.
Because the mustard is pretty pungent by itself. But adding it in with the mayo adds sort of a nice little flavor or flair into the eggs.
Now this is a little bit thick. See,
so we should use some more mayo.
So I'm gonna get another teaspoon here and just pull out a little more mayo. Probably not another third. We don't need another third, but we probably need. That's only probably another. That isn't even half of a. My guess is that's a tablespoon.
Maybe 1/4.
Yeah, maybe 1/4 cup or about 2 tablespoons.
Yeah, we're measuring in between 1/4 or a tablespoon. Whichever works best for you.
Yeah, what you want to do is you can always add more, but you can't add less. You can't take it away once you put it in.
Well, I mean, you could just add more egg.
Well, if you had them done. But if you're on a time crunch and I made 12 eggs.
Yeah,
One exploded, so I wasn't
11.
using it. So there's 11 eggs. So this is the yolk from 11 eggs. Now what we want to do is, and I'll let you do this. You want to take a little taste of it.
To see if you get all the proportions right.
Big thing is always taste what you're doing to see if you got enough salt, if you got enough mustard, if it's creamy enough with
Tastes
the mayo.
like usual.
Okay. So we're good.
That's good.
Okay. So
now you're just going to take maybe like a spoonful like this.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of like drip it into the egg.
Right.
Your half cut, already prepared egg whites, which you have placed somewhere.
Yeah, I usually like to use a teaspoon like you would use at the table because it's slim and you can get the right amount if you kind of mound it up. So I look at about this much, and then I just, and of course you have wonderfully clean hands always.
Yeah.
When you're doing this, and you never.
I mean, especially in this time, you're going to always want to get your hands clean.
Right. And you never want to lick your hands or lick your fingers while you're doing it, or lick your thing here, your spoon, because you don't want to, just in case. Not that your family would kill you for it, but should always be very clean in the kitchen because you can really get sick from certain things. So.
And as we're finishing the eggs, we have a little bit of paprika right here for a little bit of seasoning on top. But this is just our choice and some flavoring. You can use whatever you think is a suitable flavoring on top of it. Like I stated a while ago, dill.
Yep, you can use dill. I've used dill before.
Yeah, dill is pretty good on these.
I've used smoked paprika, which is good.
Oh, yeah.
This paprika, if you notice, I mean, paprika doesn't have a ton, unless you use a lot of it, doesn't really have a ton of flavor. But what it does is add a nice look to the egg, breaks up the fact that the egg is all yellow.
Yeah, adds a nice little flair to it.
Yes, it adds, exactly. So we're working on these eggs. When you put some in, if it looks like not enough, put a little more in. You can always add. What happens is sometimes I get overly zealous and I fill an egg a little too much, or some eggs, and then when I get down to the end, I'm lacking of yolk stuffing.
Yes,
and I have to pull it out of other eggs in order to get them all.
This part you can actually go back
Yes.
instead of you just keep going forward.
You can. It's just that it's a little messy to go back.
Now, this stuff looks like it would make a good egg salad.
It would if you chopped up. Well, the only thing you need to really adjust, you'd be chopping up your whites, and you wouldn't be pulverizing your yolks. And then you do the same thing. Add very little salt because you're going to be adding your mayo. You'll want to add enough mayo to make your egg salad liquidy enough. I hate to say liquid, but not real. You don't want it.
Not too liquid, but enough to fill it.
Right. You want it to be a nice consistency. So it spreads if you're doing sandwiches or something. You don't want it to be too runny on your bread, but you want to be able to have it nice and moist enough.
Because having something too moist, as we all know, is very bad. I mean,
yes,
if you look at cake, too much moist cake, when baking it, technically turns it into water.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want too much moisture. See, I'm at that point where I've kind of ended up just a little short on this egg. So what I usually do is I look at a few other eggs, and if I see an egg that looks like it's got a lot in it, like that one, that I kind of went overboard, I put a little in there.
Sounds like the family's arriving.
And that's it. So as everybody in the family likes, is paprika. And this stuff can kind of go everywhere.
So you're just
So I'm
probably going
just-
to want to get a little.
I just kind of shake as little as I can on each one. Just a little tiny bit. And then you can show the
But
finished product.
never
here.
give me deviled eggs and paprika, because the entire thing might as well just have been dyed red.
Yeah. That's why you have to be kind of...
Yeah.
Because once these go in the fridge and stuff, like you said, they can get moisture up here. And if it gets down on the paprika,
It
kind of
is
makes
going to turn
a
into
waste.
a giant red mess.
Yes, it will turn into a red mess. But here's the finished product. Ooh, doo-doo. There we go. Okay, so
If yours isn't looking like that, go back into the video a little bit far. Go back farther into the video and see what you did wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe retry it.
well, the nice things about deviled eggs is
Sort of like the experimental method.
yes, and eggs are cheap, so you can do a dozen eggs are less than $2 a dozen. So you can do a dozen eggs with just a little bit of mayo, a little tiny bit of mustard, some salt, some paprika, just some labor, and you can really have a nice dish for maybe like $2.50, if that. And everybody eats them and everybody loves them. So I'm going to cover these. And of course they need to be refrigerated until
I'll
it's
take
time.
these downstairs.
Do you want to stop the video or?
No,
for
we
now?
can keep going.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so what are we doing next?
Well, we took our brats off. We talked about that. So we're good there. Let's see. Well, we could cut our apples, get our grapes washed up, so we could get our fruit tray ready to roll, get our pickles out, get them displayed nicely, and we're almost there. I'm just going to clean up because I like to clean up right after I do stuff, so I don't have so much cleanup later. It's Rocky's video for his channel. He's taking something downstairs.
There he is. I was like, wait, also, I didn't, you can't text me on this phone. It was dead.
Okay, sorry.
Also,
Hey Clara, come say hi to the camera.
hello.
So, this is my smaller cousin than me, who is actually older than me somehow.
What does mean?
Okay, well you keep going, Rock. I was just putting a few things away.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So, smash burgers. So smash burgers, you use just a regular burger recipe. You pound them into balls and then just put a layer of paper over top. And then you're going to do the exact same thing as many times as you want. But the way we do smash burgers is we put 2 patties. So one patty, we cook it, we put cheese, and then we put another patty on top after that's done cooking. And those are our versions of smash burgers, am I right?
Right, we use 2, you take the meat, you put it into a ball, 2 ounces, we weigh them.
Yeah.
So every one is perfect. You take your 2-ounce ball, he smashes it onto the griddle, smashes each one, cooks them, turns them, puts a piece of cheese, puts another one on top. So you end up with a 4-ounce burger, which is a 1/4 pounder, which is what most burgers are.
odd? We use a metric system in cooking, but not in real life.
No. Oh no. No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, some of my viewers might be on the other side of the world and be like, yeah, what's the problem
What
with
are
that?
you doing? Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't understand why we haven't changed to the metric system yet.
Yeah, we had a discussion about that, I remember,
Yeah.
and said like we're the only country that doesn't, but
No, there are some countries in Africa that don't.
oh, they don't use
Yeah.
it. Well, we're gonna with these brats, we're going to be
Searing them on a pan.
we're going to be making onions and peppers to go on the brat if somebody wants to put onion and pepper on the brat. If they don't, that's okay too. So I'm going to get rid of this rock water here.
So, when cooking all of these things, make sure you have adult supervision with you, because cutting peppers and cutting onions can be very dangerous if you don't know how to handle a knife.
Right, I've already
And
done
especially don't cut onions if you have a cut on your hand.
that. Yes, that could hurt. That could hurt. You're
It
right.
will hurt.
That's right. So we've got cut up vegetables, crudité. We've got our... Go ahead.
I forget.
Coleslaw.
We have our coleslaw. I'm not used to having it, so I don't really remember the name much.
Oh, it's okay. That's right. You don't like it that much.
No. So how are we going to cut our onions and peppers for searing in?
They're already cut.
Yeah. So
I cut. Oh,
how are we going to cut them?
You're gonna cut your peppers lengthwise, not in rings. You know, not like.
Yeah. So you're
up the
gonna want to
pepper.
cut your pepper in half, and then when you put it flat out, you're going to cut it
Right.
in several strips.
Right, strips. Exactly.
You're not going to turn them into little squares, or else that'll ruin it.
Strips. We have yellow,
Red and orange and yellow peppers, which are the sweeter types of peppers,
Correct.
which will add a nice little flavor to our broth.
Right, and then we have just some little same thing. You know, strips of onion, which will be cooked in too. And the point will be to try to cook these slow so that they'll caramelize. So they'll be nice and... I'd add mushrooms to this, but we have a lot of mushroom haters in the family. Not myself,
I do enjoy your mushrooms.
but we do sometimes, you know, cut some mushrooms, even just the white button mushrooms or the cremini mushrooms, just stick them...
Ooh, I love the Korean mushrooms. Nice and big.
Big ones?
Yeah, they're it's sort of like fluffy.
Yes.
It's got a nice little... When you cook them, when the water evaporates, it adds a nice little...
Oh, yes. That's right.
Not too much of a squish, but enough that there's a little bit of a crunch there.
True.
And it's always really good.
So I'm going to cook these just on this griddle. I needed it big enough.
So how big is this griddle?
The griddle for the burgers?
No, for the broth.
This is probably, this is a 12-inch griddle.
Yeah, so that would be big enough.
This is Analon, hard anodized, non-stick.
Well,
I like this griddle for all kinds of things. Because I can just put...
It's very useful for pancakes.
Yes. I can just put a little bit of
Oil.
a little bit of olive oil on it. Not much. It's not going to... As the oil heats up, it's going to definitely get a little less, what would you say? A little more runny, for lack of a better term.
Look at this, it looks like a dinosaur. It looks
does.
like a brontosaurus.
And then these will go in, and we'll let them cook, and we'll turn them down so that they have time to caramelize. And that'll be really good.
So, you're really going to want your onions to caramelize because it adds a nice little flavor along with the sweet peppers.
Yes.
So the onions sort of add like a very tart, very...
Right, but once they caramelize, they get sweet.
Yes, it gets
So
very sweet because of all the sugar in it.
Because there is sugar in onion, that's very true.
Yes, there's also sugar and peppers.
And peppers, that's right. So did you... Well, I wasn't going to do the patties yet. Did you want to stop and then can you restart and then we'll do the patties? Oh, you can't restart your video? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well, here, we can demonstrate. What about Grandpa, though? Were you showing him doing the...
Yeah, I intend to do that.
Well, that isn't going to happen for two hours, a little less than 2 hours. So,
I could probably combine videos.
can you combine videos?
Yeah, maybe.
Because maybe we could do...
Ooh, a part 1 and a part 2.
There you go. Part 2 would be making the burger and cooking the burger and cooking the broth. That would probably work better.
I'm probably going to have to edit this out.
Okay, that's okay.
And probably cut to us measuring and demonstrating how.
Yes, that's what we'll do, is we'll measure and...
So, do you want to start caramelizing?
We can do this. Yeah, we can do this. I like gas burners.
Here, I'm going to bring this over.
Because you can control it. Hello. And I'll just wait for this to get a little bit.
You don't want it to be too hot, but you want it to be a nice warm, so that it can caramelize properly and not be burnt.
Right, you don't want to burn these.
No,
yes.
because burning the caramelization process in the onions just makes it awful.
Yes, they would
Just
taste
like,
very bitter. They would get very bitter tasting.
yes, it is not very good.
No, it isn't. So, but we'll get this going.
I thought you would probably use a paper towel to spread the
Well,
oil around.
The only thing is I don't want any of that oil to be absorbed by the paper towel. I want to make sure we've got oil on the thing. So once it goes, we'll be.
Would you like something to drink while you're cooking?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you, though. There we go. And you'll be surprised how much this will go down. It will get very, very much smaller looking than it is now. It looks like a lot, but it really isn't. It's actually 3 peppers and 1.5 onions, and that's really not very.
That's not very much.
What I like to do too is, as I'm cooking them, I like to add a little bit of salt.
Yeah.
It kind of gets the flavor in there.
Yeah, it incorporates the flavor, the caramelization process.
Because once again, it's a lot of vegetables, and vegetables do need salt in order to be yummy. And this is a little garlic powder. I'm just going to put a little bit of that on. We can always add more later. And that's the gospel today, is always just use sparingly. You can always add. But once you put too much in, you can't take it out. There's very few tricks to taking out too much salt. One time I was making, hasn't happened to me much, but one time I was making sauce, tomato sauce, like spaghetti sauce. And I had a thing like this, which is got a top like this, and I was shaking, these are really good herbs. It's got rosemary, garlic, sage, and black pepper.
Yeah, that's really good.
Smells really good. And I was shaking some into the sauce, and I probably should have been shaking it into my hand and then putting in the sauce, because this little top wasn't securely on.
Ooh.
And it flipped off, and a huge amount of this dumped right down into the sauce. So I quick,
must
got...
have a very nice sauce.
I quick got a scooper, and scooped out what I could get scooped out as quick as I could. And honestly, it only took that one little thing to happen to really be, to get into the sauce, and it was unusable. The salt had gotten so quickly into the tomato, I could not get out. Just taking off the top didn't, what I could see. What I couldn't see was what had already gotten into the sauce, and it was too much.
Okay, so as you see, the pile is already shrinking because of the caramelization process.
Yes.
So, Nona, I can see that we have some butterscotch, that's caramel, and some apple pie filling. So, it seems to me like we're making something for dessert, too.
Well, actually, yes. Dessert today is something that Grandpa wanted to try that he saw on the internet. That he saw someone that has a little YouTube thing that they do for the griddle, for the Blackstone griddle, which is what we have, and it's smashed cinnamon rolls.
Yeah, that's why those cinnamon rolls were in there.
And what you basically do is take your cinnamon rolls
and just smash them,
and you put them on your griddle, and you put butter down on your griddle, and you smash them, and then you flip them, and they get caramelized and crispy. then what we're gonna do is bring them in, and if somebody wants, we're gonna have hot apple pie filling, hot apples put over it, and we have vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
And then caramel sauce on the top.
Now here's the thing that I would do.
Okay.
So I get the idea with smashing it, but I would put sort of like 2 thumbs in the middle, and then sort of like put the apple pie filling on top of the ice cream, and then drizzle it with caramel. So you sort of have like a cinnamon roll bite, where you can just grab it and it has all flavors incorporated into one thing.
Well, that's an idea too. You'll have to discuss that one with Grandpa. He is the cooker of the griddle outside, and that's what he's going to do the things on. So you see, you can start to see
The caramelized.
some of the onions are starting to, the ones that are closest to the griddle.
You know it's caramelized when all the onions start to get floppy.
Very well floppy, but they turn translucent first.
Yeah.
And then they start to turn light brown. And then if you cooked it more and more and more, they would get darker and darker. So, and that's not a bad thing to get darker. So I'm going to turn these down to medium now, and I'm going to just kind of like let them go a little bit. I don't want to mess up the caramelization by keeping constantly stirring them. I want them to get a little bit of crust on them and get a little bit of caramelized goodness. So we'll let those sit for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that's our menu is the smash burgers, the brats. We have buns for anyone who wants buns for their smash burger and brats. We have condiments, crudité, our coleslaw, our salad, which is just mixed greens, and we'll have dressing for that. Our pickles, more condiments. We'll be ordering some JoJo's, and those will be good to go with everything. And then our grapes and some cut up apples.
Yeah.
Right now, apples are in season, so we
got some really nice ones.
really like the Mutsu apple, which is also called Crispin.
I really like the ladybug.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, ladybug has a nice crunchy and sweet.
The Mutsu are a little tart, but I think, it just depends on, you get a little caramelizing on the pepper too.
Yeah, it's,
I lost that one. Oh,
well, probably going to burn.
Okay. That's okay. We don't want to eat that if it's falling down the grate.
By the time it's done, I bet it's probably going to be nice and crispy.
Probably. But, so we should be good with that amount of stuff. I think we'll have, once we have, we'll have some of everything today. This is kraut for that I'll heat up. It's just for the brats, if anyone likes kraut on their brats. I don't know. Do you like kraut on your brats?
My mom wanted to know if we were having sauerkraut balls.
Oh, huh. I wish. Now those are a whole nother show.
Yeah.
Those are very labor intensive. Very good, but very labor intensive. I usually only make those twice a year. I usually make them on New Year's.
Yeah.
Because you eat sauerkraut on New Year's for good luck.
Yes, you also have the New Year's cake, which you hide baby Jesus in.
Well, that's actually that's Mardi Gras.
Oh, Mardi
That's
Gras.
for Mardi Gras, which is in February usually.
I remember last year Anderson got baby Jesus.
Did he get it?
Yeah, he got baby Jesus last year.
So we've got, and then I usually make them around St. Patrick's Day, which is in March, because they go pretty well with, I like to make the, corned beef and cabbage.
Can't go wrong with corned beef.
But the good thing is, when I make at New Year's, is a lot of times because I have leftover ham from Christmas, and I use, in my sauerkraut balls, I use ham and sausage and kraut. So They're very
Ooh.
very dense.
What about your corned beef sauerkraut?
You mean corned beef and cabbage?
Yeah,
Ugh.
I
Dang. I keep losing stuff today. Ugh.
I thought it was sauerkraut though, with sauce, or was that like cheese?
Cabbage.
Ah, so it was sauerkraut, corned beef, and cabbage.
Well, usually when I do corned beef and cabbage, I don't do sauerkraut.
No sauerkraut.
Because kraut is basically cabbage. It's just cabbage that's been pickled. So I usually try to stay away from kraut when I'm doing the other. These are getting very nice. Very nice looking. I'll turn them down even a little bit more. And so that's where we're
Going to end for part 1. Thank you everybody for tuning in for part 1. Keep an eye out on this channel for part 2, which will be coming in maybe a few hours.
probably, let's see, it's 3:30, 4:30, about 5 o'clock our time, which is about an hour and a half.
Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.